This is the third shir on Hanukkah. The Gemara is in Masechet Shabbos, Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. We just saw the Tosfos, and now we're going to see the Ramban, who has a different approach than Tosfos. And the Ramban begins with the same exact question that Tosfos had, which is Ramban Kavta Zakuk, that which we learned, that Kavta Zakuk, which was the two reasons for Rav Huna, who said that you can't use the bad oils on Shabbos, on Hanukkah. The reason is because of Kavta Zakuk, because if it goes out, you're required to relight it, and therefore we're concerned that you might not relight it, and therefore use good oils that are not likely to go out. And secondly, Mutar l'shamesh lo, you're allowed to use the light, and therefore we're worried on Shabbos that you might violate Shabbos by tilting the lamp, by fixing the lamp to make the oil flow better. So that's why you need to have good wicks and oils, so that it will burn well, and you will not be tempted to adjust it. Kasheli. How do we know that you can use the light? How does Rava know that Rav Huna believes you can use the light? Dilma, maybe. Af b'Shabbos ein madlikin b'hen. Maybe even on Shabbos Chanukah, the reason why you can't use the bad oils for the menorah is leficha kavta zakuk, because if it goes out, you have to relight it. Ub'Shabbos efshali zakek lan. On Shabbos, you can't relight it, and therefore, all the more so, a reason to require good wicks and oils all the days of Chanukah, all for the same reason of Kavta Zakuk. Why does Rava need to introduce a second reason to explain Rav Huna? This is the same question as Tosfos. But the Ramban answers, that the Gemara thinks, meaning Rava thinks, Kevan de v'Shabbos efshar lizakekla, since on Shabbos you can't fix it, you can't relight it, it would be a violation of Shabbos, lo chayshina, and therefore we're not concerned about the light staying on, umalikin b'chol hashmanim, and you would be able to use all kinds of oils. The kevan she'efshar shelo yichbu, since it's possible that it won't go out, since you did light a candle, and there's no reason to think it will go out, you fulfill the mitzvah, even though you're using the kind of wick that's not so surprising if it goes out, lo ichpas lam, we don't care. Since you can't relight it, there's no need to relight it, and in fact, we don't care about how long it stays lit. And here's where the Ramban articulates the idea most clearly. V'Shabbos leman da'amar kavta zakuk, when it comes to the menorah on Shabbos, according to the view that in general kavta zakuk dino shavel achol, it has the same law as a weekday. Leman da'amar kavta ein zakuk. It becomes like Kavsa Ein Zakukla. Even if you think in general Kavsa Zakukla, clearly that was only for Shabbos. That was only for a weekday. But on Shabbos, it's Kavsa Ein Zakukla. Kishem Shebechol Muter Halik B'Shmanim Halalu Vim Kavu Ein Zakukla. Just like if you think Kavsa Zakukla, just like in general, if you think Kavsa Ein Zakukla, we don't care about it being relit, and therefore you can use all kinds of oils. After Shabbos came with different alcohol. Shabbos, everyone agrees to that. Kavsa ein zakuk, you can't be required to relight it on Shabbos. Therefore, you can use any wick or oil. There's no requirement to use better wicks and oils. Shabbos, kavsa ein zakuk. Shabbos, everyone agrees kavsa ein zakuk. Ve'ein l'cha ba ela mitzvahs halakha bilvad. The only thing that there is a mitzvah of lighting. To reflect on this machlokas between Tosfos and the Ramban, we see that the Ramban believes that since you can't light a fire on Shabbos, there can't be a law of kavsa zakuk on Shabbos. But it's interesting because the Tosfos thinks that Kavsa Zakuk would apply to Shabbos, and the second reason is just additional, extra. But Kavsa Zakuk applies on Shabbos also, and even though you can't relight it, if you can't, you can't, but the mitzvah of menorah does demand that you relight it. It's essentially two mitzvahs which conflict, and if you're stuck, obviously Shabbos would override menorah, but there would still be a compromise to menorah. The Ramban thinks they couldn't have created the mitzvah of menorah in such a way which by definition conflicts with Shabbos, and they originally adjusted the laws of menorah to accommodate for Shabbos. Here we can wonder what it is that made Tosos see it the way he saw it, and what made the Ramban see it the way he sees it. And I'd like to suggest that it's because they look at the mitzvah of menorah differently. The Ramban thinks that the requirement of Kavta Zakuk demands the act of lighting or the act of relighting, but the focus of the mitzvah is the act of lighting. Kavta Zakuk means you are required to light the menorah enough times that it will be lit the entire time of the mitzvah. But the mitzvah is an action mitzvah. It is like most mitzvahs, where the mitzvah is an action. And the Ramban thinks that since the mitzvah is an action of lighting, they couldn't require you to do that action on Shabbos. But Tosfos might have seen it a little bit differently. Tosfos might have seen Kavta Zakuk as a mitzvah where the action is secondary. The primary parameter of the mitzvah is that you guarantee that the lights are lit. It's a goal-oriented mitzvah where the mitzvah is defined as you should make sure that the candles are lit. I don't care if you light it once or 100 times. You do whatever you have to do in order to make sure that it stays lit. So Tosfos thinks that fundamentally this mitzvah is not a contradiction to Shabbos. There's no problem with having lights lit on Shabbos. Therefore, Tosfos thinks that Kavta Zakuk applies on Shabbos and demands that you use a good candle that won't go out. In the unlikely scenario that it does go out, you'd be in the category of an ones, where you did everything you could and there's nothing more that you can do. But the mitzvah is that the candles should stay lit. And these two ways of looking at the mitzvah might explain the two views about whether Kavta Zakuk applies on Shabbos of Hanukkah.